something for himself before he gives it to anybody else. So he has it to a certain level, right? Even if it comes to
Everyone's reading your text
sure,
messages.
just for sure.
Everyone's reading your text messages.
Huh? No, we're on again. Okay, guys, listen. You got to cooperate and be disciplined.
For sure, when he gives it to somebody else, he gets to a higher level. Is that correct? And that comes out different the head and the.
If he's giving the right thing, there's some people give hashpah to others that, I don't want to say
nothing to do with
that Biel once said about Yosef Weinberg that he's the only, he knows he can explain something to someone else that he himself doesn't understand.
Wow.
So I don't know how that fits with all this.
Nice BS. He's calling him a BSer. No.
It's great.
There's a lot of ways. This is the art of communication. The people. No, if you're conveying the Indian lemitose to someone else, no question you have to go deeper.
So when you
That's a given.
it's always that way. When you're going to try to explain to someone else, you're going to know it in a different level.
Yeah, for sure.
No matter how good you know it. When you have to
Absolutely.
explain to someone else,
No
it's a
question.
gate tifir because, like
Yeah.
you say, or like Moshe. Okay.
And it doesn't bring writing, but write it down, it'll be even better.
Also,
Yeah?
Because writing is even further down.
in the
from you.
soul, it
Because
goes
you're
on.
sitting with someone, writing you have to mamish, put it in a way that someone who's never going to meet may read.
He has to encompass everything as much as you can.
Yeah.
But then you can write.
I remember by Fabrengen the Rebbe once said that they asked me if I prepare before I speak. So the Rebbe says, "B'chlal I prepare," but once in a while, as I speak in, a certain geschmack of thought comes.
The Rebbe says.
Yeah, but Rabal is not. He didn't prepare. It sometimes doesn't come out all the details, and a lot of times missing certain things. In other words, it's still the seichel ba'atzmei. He didn't develop even by the Rebbe. The Rebbe said before. So many times he would write to us afterwards lahesif. Because there was no time, or because afterwards the Rebbe added something.
So
That's an example. That's why
Rebbe prepared. He wrote no.
they saw by some Fabrengens. They saw the Rebbe by the Siddur. They saw
Had
once
notes?
in a while.
Cheat sheets.
He had that end of a Fabrengen. The Rebbe would look at some. It wasn't long notes. It was just Nekudas. We saw a few in the later years. They found things that the Rebbe wrote before Shabbos, were certain Nekudas. Then there's the Rebbe spoke in Gan Yisrael, Tavshin Chof. When he went to Gan Yisrael, in the car, he wrote to himself, and when they printed the book of Noise Dasha, I actually found it. I gave it to them. I didn't have the original. I have a copy, but I was the only one that had it. It's Mamish notes. He didn't say everything that he wrote. So it's printed in the Noise Dasha, yeah. Well, it says that Rebbe Rashab would not say something until he spoke 4 times to himself. He prepared himself 4 times. It says in Gemara that a person shouldn't say something in public until he says it 4 times, but repeats it to himself. When he said a mimer without a chana, like Simchas Torah, Samach Vov, it was like a big thing. So not because because even if Erech HaRebbe, this remember we're talking about Moshe here. Everybody needs this. It's not just people who don't have. You could say this is only for simple people who don't have real seichel. Even the deeper your seichel, the more you may need it. Even because you're bringing it to another level. Remember, all this is even this Maimer Muzga is negated to this whole concept of bringing Gvul and Bli Gvul together. He's dissecting in so many details here. Remember, all this is by Dabar Hashem. This is the El Meisha part. You say that. Okay, so for Oid, okay, V'Haiker shetzarich li is bezah hisamtzus, hisamtzus. He's adding a new word now. He spoke MK primiyusei yashvus lahazbir inyonim l'shanis. Now there's a new word, hisatzmus. Just here alone, you can make a study of 5-6 different things that's necessary and how do you communicate to somebody.
How to educate.
Like I'm telling you, this piece itself, educate, even how to love, how to communicate love, how to communicate to a child, almost any form of communication this applies to. How do you really reach? How do you market? No, Mayor would appreciate that. How do you market? How do you bring something that the person is not interested in and sell them it? We're talking about these things of value.
Eskimos.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So here the word is hisatzmus. What's hisatzmus? I said vetnesatzim with somebody. That means it becomes. I think that's maybe the ultimate only. Even more than hisyashvus. Hisyashvus is you're still a guest by somebody, but they give you a seat. But hisatzmus is when you take over.
So then you don't have to quote the author, so to speak.
Yeah, in a way the Rebbe says that, right?
Hisatzmus
Hisatzmus ayin v'hu she'inyan seichli yisatzim etzlei. And here, the seichel becomes yisatzim. It becomes one with his essence. How would you translate yisatzim, the verb? Etzim, I understand.
Internalized.
More than internalized. No? It's more than internalized.
Nights.
It's even more than integrated. Nisatze means what's in Nisatze? What does that Nisatze mit them?
It
becomes one. It becomes one with you. It becomes. It's not. It's no longer even a separate seichel. It's one.
Yeah.
Fuse
is getting there.
We're getting there. You're looking up at this source?
No. No, if it's a touch etzim, how do you touch etzim?
Etzim is essence, b'chlal.
Oh, so it has to become
So
one.
it
becomes your essence.
Essentialized.
Essentialized. I was going to say the same thing, right? That's a
Whatever
new
that
word.
means.
That's a word in the dictionary.
And what means essentialized? Nisatzim.
That's right.
Was meant chutzpah? Chutzpah. You know. Once it becomes nisatzim.
Once a word is centralized, becomes part of the English dictionary, like chutzpah, then you achieve what it's supposed to be.
But once it becomes nisatzim with a person, once it becomes completely one with him, then he can do whatever he wants with it. Then he can take it and manipulate it and shape it and reframe it in endless ways. I'll give you an example for this because something I once worked on. I remember when I was working toward a meaningful life, so I remember I was like struggling. How do you sometimes get an Indian out to someone who doesn't even know the words? I was talking to a professor. I remember he said to me, I remember the idea. I remember the context that truly communicating an idea, you have to strip it to its core, get rid of all its externals, and once you get to the etzem nekuda of the idea, you can redress it in 1,000 different ways. And when he said it to me, it reminded me when you learn the Raga Chover, that's what the Raga Chover does. He takes, and the Rebbe mentions this often. He takes things in Gemara and strips it from its halachic application and gets to what is the core argument. I'll give you an example. And then once you do that, you can apply it to so many different halachas you would never think it could be connected. It's a mamish an example. Here's an example. The Rebbe, I think, brings it about Zman. There's a question: if you machal Shabbos, God forbid, is Shabbos machul and that's it, and there's no more Shabbos for you, or you have to keep keeping Shabbos? Are you machal a minute later? Yeah. So good. So what's the machlekes? You could explain it many ways. What is Shabbos? Yeah. Or maybe Poskin. No, but this one second.
It's like a fast day.
It's based on the Gemara. I'm not sure. Hold on. No. It's also negate this for the same. If you miss a day, the mincha is chinuch.
Someone eats during the fast.
It's similar, but Shabbos, I think, and also 1 second. You'll see in a second the nekuda here. So the Raga Chover says the machlekes is what is time? Is time made up of parts or is it an entity? So if Shabbos is a full entity, so once you broke it, Shabbos, that's it. It doesn't make a difference. The Shabbos is no longer Shabbos for you. But if it's particles, so to speak, if it's time,
in Akder, he doesn't have that problem.
No. By the way, sometimes it says that when you walk in the midbar and you don't know when it is, you count because you're going up Shabbos out an Ak. Yeah. Anyway, 1 second. So, yeah, but if it's made up of time, of pieces, of so-called every second of Shabbos is Mekudesh again, sanctified again. So a minute before, fine, you have to do tshuva, but the next second is Shabbos is again Mekudesh.
You can't be Machal Shabbos again.
That day.
Right. Every second is a separate thing. Now, and once he breaks it to that, then the argument is forget about Shabbos right now. What is time? And he applies it to Adin and Nida. And then in Sfiras Eimer. Sfiras Eimer, the Rebbe brings a disagreement too. Like if you miss a day, if you miss a bracha, so there are opinions that you should make a bracha the next day because every day is a separate entity. The Rebbe is machadar is that Sfiras Eimer is both, because it's every day is a separate mitzvah. That's why you make, because if it's all 49 days, then why you make 49 brachas? On the other hand, if it's separate, why if you miss one, do you not do the next one? You make a new bracha. The Rebbe says because there it's negay. You can't have day 3 without day 2. That's what's missing. So in other words, it's a combination. Each day is separate. But the bottom line is what he does is strip the ideas from their application. Shabbos this, and you suddenly have an argument about Zman that you can apply to things that are completely different categories. Someone can then say, "Oh, with that I can understand the whole other concept about time." And the Raga Chover does this all the time.
A man marries a woman.
Very often the Rebbe did also, in other words, strip it from the prat, from the details. You get to the core thing, and then you can do whatever you want with it, so to speak. Because now you have a core principle. You don't just have an application.
The essential Torah.
In Mefanech Tzveinus, Kasher did it. He takes the Raga Chover and divides it to Keich and Peil, Heder and Metzias, Klal and Prat, Zman is it made up of parts or not? It comes down to raw concept.
I think here is saying even more than that. You are talking in the Seichel
example.
In the Askala Gufa, you can strip the Askala from the application. Here is saying that Askala becomes one with you. I think it's
no. I didn't say how you get, but the truth is, for the Ragan Shavar to do that, he had to become Nisatzim.
He had to be Nisatzim with the
no, for sure. Because remember, two things are happening here. There's the Gavra and there's the Chefza, to use the Isis. There's the Gavra that has to be Nisatzim with the Seichel, and the Seichel has to get to the Etzim of the Seichel.
Yeah, I heard.
But they're all. That's what he said before. You have to get to the Amik of the Primus of the Seichel. It's true. Here he's talking more. I think how it's on the Gavra that the person has to be Nisatzim with it. Because you could get to the Etzim of the Seichel, and if it's not Nisatzim with you, you won't be able to do it either.
How can you ever do it with Chassidus? Get to the Mahush or something. You have to get to the Mahush. You can't do it with Chassidus to well-known.
Yeah. Look, the bottom line is, by the way, even Avis Yisrael. People say, how's it possible? It's only possible because you see the neshama in things. Like, I'd hate this guy's guts in regular life, but when I see his neshama, he's like a part of me. No one knows who I'm talking to.
Talking to neshama.
No, but the truth is, if you think about it, we have difficulty getting to the neshama maybe because we're so distracted by the chitzenius and the outside. But if you're able to get there, it would be natural, it would be an easy thing. It would be like because it's not about you; it's about the etzim of the inyan. Al tamayim ramuzgit. Al to say that. Moshe was something else. Moshe doing ariz. He's a giant. And in truth, in order to change, again, to reshape, he means. The shanas means to reshape it. It doesn't mean change as in like another inyan. It means reframing it, reshaping it. In order to be to innovate ways. He's adding now, where does it come from? So before he's called Kadmus Seichel, but he's going back to that. This comes from the Keach HaMaskil. In other words, it's not just some type of, let's call it, innovative guy who happens to have creative mind, so you give him an idea, and eventually it's a puts, and he makes out make it come. It comes
the Seichel.
Exactly. This comes from the root of the Seichel of Keach HaMaskil. So a person is able to go into the source of where the Seichel came.
See, it's very good. I keep on saying the Gvul and the big Gvul.
Yeah.
He's explaining within the Seichel Guf.
Exactly.
You have the maskil and you have the Khavs and the Gavra and the Chefza that you're saying.
And by the way, just through the record, not now, but at probably 20, 30 pages from here, he goes to Chochmah has both elements, Hafla of Chochmah and Slapshus of Chochmah. What we talked about before. Okay, so this comes to here. Shemesham nimshech haseichel goli. What is Keach HaMaskil? Keach HaMaskil is the place, the source, the root, where the revealed seichel comes from, originates from. Umasham nimshech gamkin hamtzoos ha'inyanim. So the seichel comes from there, and also the hamtzoos ha'inyanim come from there. So it's becoming a whole thing. Yeah. So he's saying now a new nekuda. He's saying like this. It's not like seichel. We'll go back before seichel before you be mashpiyah to someone else. So you have the seichel, you understand it. You read something, you understand it. You're not pressured. You don't need to write it or to explain it to someone else. That seichel also comes from Keach HaMaskil, but it's not the emek and primi. It's not everything that he said here. Then, when you need to be mashpiyah to someone else, you need to go back into the Keach HaMaskil where the seichel comes from, because there's a whole bunch of other tools in the arsenal there, so to speak, and that allows you to reframe the inyan and to be mamsi ways. He says,
I remember
how to bring the seichel el azulas.
I remember when I was a kid when they gave me the Rubik's Cube. So how many days and weeks I spent trying to figure it out until you learn how to do one side, until you can do two sides matching colors. There was a point in time
I had no patience for it.
that I figured out a point in time to get the whole thing from all sides. Once I figured out, I can't even remember it for the life of me. Once I figured out how to get the whole thing, I can just give it to you. Do whatever you want with it.
So
switch it around for Alice Aiton. Give it
David,
back to me, I'll be able to get it. It's the same idea.
David, I have no respect.
David, let me tell you something.
No, forget it. It will take
David, listen.
It's in the Kudah.
Once this gets out there, we want you to create a 3-minute YouTube with a Rubik's Cube on the
No,
floor.
it's taking weeks to figure that out again. Forget it.
The only
So
guy
the
that I know that
demonstration-
used to do it as a kid very easily was Shmuel Hammond.
That's from Gedul for the Zach.
Shmuel Hammond, no?
Okay.
Yeah, it became a thing that how quickly they can do it, like within 30 seconds. But that's not the point here.
Not bad, David.
The point is that if you have it, do whatever you want. I'll get back to the core, whatever you do with it.
I was barely able to do one side.
Now let's see whether you can do the same thing with Chassidus. That's the Shaila. Okay, Shesham Nimsech HaSeichel Goli B'mei Lamtzeh. The Dafke Misha B'Yecholti L'Hamtzeh Seichel Chodosh. Dafke Mi, someone who's able to be mamtzi, to innovate a new idea, a new seichel, B'Yecholti Gamkin L'Hamtzeh Inyanim B'mei Lahevi. So now he's going into something much deeper. He's saying much more than what he said till now. Seichel Chodosh. He's not no longer just saying that it's the same seichel with new hamtzos. Dafke someone who can be mamtze a new seichel, like almost like the first seichel you heard from a teacher. So it's your seichel, huh?
An inventor.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean you can innovate. Dafke someone who can innovate a new seichel has the power to come up with ideas and innovate ways how to explain a seichel that he heard. So it's not just a detail; it shows, demonstrates on a depth of seichel. Literally, like in other words, a teacher explaining it to a student properly is as if he's teaching a new thing. Whereas a person who only understands it doesn't have the capacity to innovate. He's just a makabel, basically. You heard seichel. I'm telling you, I always use it whenever people ask me about chazada. I always say there's two wheels in the head. One is a processor, and one is an absorber. Processing, you hear an idea, you process it. But to absorb, it takes a whole different thing. You have to hear and then make it yours, and then you can say it over. It's a whole different level of seichel.
So
You have to own it. There's no question. The Rebbe brings about, and maybe Dover B'Shem Emrei. It's one of the Chidushim of the Rebbe. Maybe Gula. So why don't you find everybody saying B'Shem Emrei? So he says because if the Talmud it becomes Nesatzim, where the Talmud becomes one, you own it. Teira Nikras Al Shmei.
Yeah.
So once it's as if it's your own, so it's not even B'Shem Emrei anymore. That's one explanation. The Rebbe gives other. But I once heard a word. I think the Chidah says this. You ever hear this? A Talmud Chacham Shemachal Al Kvei Kvei.
Yeah, it's Chanamaimer.
Because he owns it, but only if it's an inyan with the timing. If he's just repeating a pasuk, he's not machal al
Talmud Chacham Shemachal Al Kvei.
Kvei machal. Why? Because Teira Delehu. It's his Teira. That's what it says in the Gemara. A melech can be machal al Kvei because it's not his covet. It's the covet that Tzibur covets and the Eibishter, whatever. But Talmud Chacham, he owns the Teira. So the Chidah says, Dafke, if he knows timing ha-Teira, he knows the reasons. If he's just repeating, let's say, a pasuk, Bereshis Bara Lakim, he can't be meichel on that because it's not his. He didn't own it. So it's this.
Ain't quite the machal.
Right.
And the Tragler, you got to tell Ayin was played that. Du is meichel, du bist hazak
And he
al
has
chacham,
to be
as bis
reasons
meichel al koitcha, ain't koitcha machal.
I remember once we were by Fabrengen.
Like Tom in this case.
I remember we once by.
Oh, you mean the how to read it?
Yeah, because it
Eila hamishpatim
means
asher
his own time.
tzasem
Doesn't mean timely reasons necessarily.
He means time mikra, time how to read.
No, I don't mean. I mean time and the reasons, the Havana.
Doesn't have to be.
He means the
Oh, you mean the
Doesn't
timing
his
of.
own time of it. You know?
Oh, okay. I know. The
Doesn't have to
Chidah
be
means
some-
it more.
I know Tommy's already another world. I mean,
Yeah. No, you remind me. I don't know if it's connected, but I remember we once sitting by Fabrengen with Rabbi and someone getting pleiden, gehackt in Shining. So Rabbi says, "Stay doch siyag lechach mishtike." Yeah. Why did the Chachamim have to reveal the secret to the fools? Now they'll also try to be quiet and prove that say they're smart. He says, "Nee, a fool can sich nicht einhalten." So you can tell him the secret and he'll still understand. He says, "Siyag l'chach mishtika." That a chacham is quiet. No.
But we know you can understand.
You're suffering from self-consciousness. That's your problem. Something to do. I'm not talking to you.
One help, doctor. You know.
Someone said, I'm talking about the place. He's a hat maker. You fit the hat. That's not what I was saying. I was just saying this.
Hey, Yossi, where are they?
Okay, one second. Hey, I know.
Another room.
Listen, attention span. Let's just finish the memory. Okay, fine. He's going even further now. Wow, man, this goes weiter und weiter. Moshe Rabbeinu was a Moshe, verstehst?
And he did it the whole Torah.
Yeah.
Not once.
So in order to be mamtzi and yonim to explain to someone in the Keich HaMaskil Gufa comes even deeper than a nuch seichel. Ki yesa benakel hamtzi seichel chadash. It's easier to innovate a new idea. Wow. In other words, it's easier to explain a new inyan, a new thing that I innovated than to take something that was already revealed
and make something more of it.
And come up with ways and innovative ways to explain it to something.
Make sense?
Is that the point? Like we see.
Because make something new.
This is
you're not restricted in anything.
Reminds me of
you're restricted in the seichel, but you have to find a new way.
I have for everything a story from Anochas. Because once we gave an Anocha, I don't want to say who made it, it wasn't me. And the Rebbe wrote Magiyat, but on top he wrote, Molech Chidushim Chidushim Mamish. So I realized, in Gizot Sheina Sachen, then.
Exactly.
It's full of chidushim,
innovations, real innovations.
Real innovations means that's not what I said. Then someone told me, it was before my time, and Tav Shalom, they prepared a sikha for the Rebbe, and the Chavches, Tav Shel Chavches, 1968, and the Rebbe edited, and then on top he just wrote, he said that the only problem with the sikha is the date. He never said it. I'm not Tav Shel Chavches. Says Magiyat, it's all good, but he says you should change it to another date.
abstract date.
So it's a chidushim. But to take something you heard from the Rebbe and explain it in a beautiful way, someone goes back to the source and say, wow, that's the source.
You're more restricted.
Is much, much harder. Well, for sure, because translating, one of the reasons we have so much terrible translations, a lot of things, is because the translators are afraid to tamper with the original. So it's very dry and very this. As soon as they go a little out, they think, is it really the meaning and so on. But the Rambam writes in real translation. I mean, I had this challenge when I wrote Torah Meaningful Life. I kept going back to the source because I was writing in the name of the Rebbe. It was not a game. And to write something in completely new language and it's still consistent with the source is very hard. Because it's easy to innovate. Yeah, I'll come up with my own little example. But to be true to the original and still explain it to somebody that was not there, doesn't know Yiddish, doesn't know Hebrew, doesn't know even the frame, the context of the Inyan, that's definitely much, much harder than. I mean, that's clear. That's what he's saying. V'hainu.
Yeah, so you're describing the difficulty being in the staying faithful.
No, I explain one way, but there's other ways to explain. Yeah,
I'm not knocking. I'm just saying you're emphasizing the difficulty in that it's more difficult. Lahamsi and Yanim to explain a seichel.
If I give you an open field, machachidish.
No.
Within this field,
right. What's the difficulty? Stay faithful.
What's on?
Is that all it is?
No, definitely more.
You're restricted.
I'm just giving one way to explain what he's saying. I'm sure that there's more things to say. I just wanted to give an example to explain further.
It's almost like the Hamtzah is harder, not just staying faithful is harder. The Hamtzah
but the Hamtzah, but why is it harder if the Seichel Chodesh also is Hamtzah? Remember,
right, exactly.
That's why I'm explaining it this way, because it could be one of the reasons. Is
staying faithful.
Yeah, staying faithful. That's why. But it may not be the only reason. It could also be because you have to stretch your mind more. See, coming up with a new idea, To say to somebody, take an idea and come up with original ways to explain it, is in a way even more creative. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can explain it. I just gave an example.
That's amazing to me that explaining something that someone else said can be considered more creative
than explain your own thing.
Than coming up with your own thing.
With your own Boich Shvaris, yeah. Or Seichel Chodesh. But okay, V'hainu. Let's just V'hainu shezeh bo me'emek u'pnimis keich hamaskel yesef. So here we see, and das kommt von a tiefere art in the keich hamaskel. It comes from a deeper place in the root of your of a scholar, the Hamtzah. Wow. Harei sheberdei lashpia seichel. Now he's summing it up. Harei sheberdei lashpia seichel azut tzorich lagia b'seichel zeh be'emke b'yeser. This explains what he said earlier. In other words, in order to be mashpia, to transmit an idea to another person, you need to reach in the seichel in a deeper place. So besides coming to the seichel, you have to have, besides understanding the seichel in a deeper way, you have to be mamshich ha-seichel chodesh from the keich hamaskil, from the dips of the keich hamaskil. So it's not just deeper in the seichel, but it's also the keich hamaskil you're going deeper. V'zeu d'isa be'etz chayim. Oh, now we're going to understand that Kabbalistic thing that I'm sure, Yossi, you've been struggling with all your life. Was meint Eitz Chaim anihi hachadoshim mishach min hakesem? Was meint this? Never bothered you? Nihi hachadoshim mishach min hakesem. He's going to explain a concept that I guess the Rebbe Rashab was bothered.
I'm surprised you didn't go now. Like it makes sense.
So what's Nehi HaChadoshim? Nehi is Netzach Chod Yesod. Some type of HaChadoshim, some new Hamshacha of Nehi comes from Keser. He's going to explain, of course, that it's a Seichel Chodesh, because Nehi is Yesod. Netzach Chod Yesod, Abba.
What's Chadoshim?
A new Hamshach of Nehi. It's like Nehi Chadosh, like saying Mechin Chadoshim.
Okay.
It's a new Nehi that come dafka from Keser, from the deepest part of Kerech HaMaskal. That's what he's going to say in Kabbalistic terms, but he explained it up in Chassidus Chabad now. So you will see this in Eitz Chaim, Nehi Chadoshim from Keser was supposed to gesagt.
Exactly what the Rebbe Hashem just explained is Nehi Chadoshim.
Exactly. V'zehu, the Issa Be'etz Chaim. V'hainu, b'hagdola zoh, the Nehi, Nasa Chagas, v'Chagas Nasa Chabad. Okay, what does this mean? Let's explain. Hagdola zoh is Midas. As the Midas mature, zoh the Nehi, of course. Midas of Nehi, Nasa Chagas. So let me just explain so you understand. Nehi goes like Chabad is Mechem. Chagas is emotions, Midas. Nehi is like the end of the Midas. How Midas are come down to practical. That's what he says in Ageres. That's what he says. So when you go backwards, Nehi, so the Zoh, which is Zoh the Nehi, turns Nehi, it turns it into Chagas when you elevate it. And Chagas goes back to Chabad. That's the process. Okay? Agdola Zoh the Nehi, and Agdola Zoh the Nehi, Nasa Chagas.
What does it mean, Agdola Zoh?
Maturity. Like a child's emotions would be Nehi, simple. As you grow, you become a more adult. So Nehi becomes Hagdola, so becomes...
You have a new Nehi now.
Yeah, new Nehi, right?
Your old Nehi became part of your Chagas. Your old Chagas became part of your Chabad. What you was Midas till now, you now internalize into your Chabad.
Nehi, because you're really just imitating.
Nehi, imitating,
right.
Very limited Midas, it doesn't have a sophisticated chesed.
That's because of the Yesod, the connection.
Yeah.
Imitating. It's not even imitating.
But this is all Lashon Eitz Chaim, by the way. This is all Eitz Chaim, he's saying. So then he goes, "V'hainu b'izgala zoh the Nehi, b'agdola zoh Nehi nasa Chagas, Chagas nasa Chabad, nimshachim Nehi Chadoshim ha'keser, shezeh m'bchinas primis ha'keser." This is the Eitz Chaim. He's basically saying that as the Nehi grows and becomes Chabad, then in the Nehi you have a new. Once you reach back to Chabad, comes a new Hamshacha, and this Hamshacha comes from primis, from Keser and primis ha'keser. What he's really saying, he's going to explain now. This and the in Vaydaber Havai El Meisha. Remember, Havai is Chochmei Law, and Hamshacha Vaydaber is Hamshacha. So it's Hamshacha from Primis Atzmis Chochmei B'Bchinis Yosei Daber. Into Yosei Daber. V'zeh Yashleim is Zeh B'Gdei Sheyi Hamshacha B'Bchinis Malchus, Sheb'Bchinis Teresh Shabal Per, K'mei Shekos V'Mokamach Ba'Bir. Okay, so basically he's saying like this. I mean, he's gonna. Moshe is Yosei Daber now. This is explained what Yosei Daber is, because Moshe is Chachma alone is the Seichel. Vaydaber Havai is the Seichel. So I'm sure. So that's the regular hashpah of Seichel. But once it comes to El Moshe, Yosei Daber, a whole new dimension is added, because he's being mashpia. He's the mashpia to the Makablim. So now it's not just he's being mashpia the Havaya, he's mashpia something from the Makar HaSeichel that's deeper than the Havaya itself in a way. And where's that rooted? In Primis HaKeser. That's where the Kerech HaMaskal is. That's the bottom line. So Vaydaber Havaya alone is the Hashpah of Chachma, that's Atzilus. Chachma Da'ak, or rather. El Moshe, as the Yosei Daber, the Hashpah part, but the Hashpah is not just transmitting it further, it has to dig deeper in the Chachma. That's what he says, Atzmis, Primis, Atzmis Chachma Ilah. That's what he's saying before, the Emek and Primis of the Chachma. And now, so now we have that, if Hashem spoke directly to the Eden, you wouldn't have this, they wouldn't get it. Because they'd have a Seichel, wouldn't be. Moshe is the Mamutza basically. He's Chachma, but he's Yosei Chachma, Yosei Daber. So he takes the Seichel and does all that we said before.
So it could be a 1 second thing or 1 year thing.
So the whole Torah, that way Moshe communicates it, when the Eibush says, Daber Hashem al Moshe, now we're going to say, we should read probably a few more lines just to go further.
1 second.
You can finish.
Wo der Eibush to get at alle Yidden zusammen, including Moshe. In other words, he wouldn't use Moshe as a memutza. Now the Eibush would speak directly to all the Yidden. So Moshe would be Makabel, and he would understand much deeper than the rest of the Bnei Yisrael. But Bibal, Moshe's function would not be Daber al Bnei Yisrael. So there would never be this inyan that of Moshe going so deep into the core that he has to reach into Pnimis HaKesed, he has to reach into the Koyach HaMaskul Yosef.
Okay.
And that part of Torah would never come Misatzim with Yidden.
Oh no, but you just have to start the other way around. If it would be Vaydaber Hashem without Moshe, he'd never reach the Makablim properly.
The Eibishter could no, because the Eibishter wanted to speak directly to the Yidden. The Yidden came begging by Moshe, please, you be between us. Moshe got so upset. Who do you want to hear from, me or from the Eibishter? Says the Eibishter to Moshe Rabbeinu, they're saying good.
Right, because first of all, if they hear from the Eibishter alone, they won't be able to live, it says. That's one thing. Fine.
But they heard him.
But Moshe, what did Moshe want? Listen and learn to live.
Let's put it this way, Moshe, why you need Moshe is very simple.
So I'm not talking about why you need Moshe.
The same reason you need
I'm not talking why you need Moshe. I'm talking here what is accomplished.
But you need to first establish why you need Moshe.
By having Moshe,
not
why we need him.
Remember, his question was, what does Yisei Daba come to add? Yisei Daba comes to add that you're able to reach into the Makablim. In order to reach into the Makablim, you need to go deeper into the set. We're saying the same thing. I'm just adding one emphasis.
I'm saying that through the fact that it becomes a Moshe, that same Moshe now, if he had not been the Mashpia, if Hashem had not chosen at the end to do to Moshe,
I heard what you said, but it's not all that he's saying here. That's one aspect of it. Remember, he began the question is we already have Chochmah. We have Chochmah. So what do you need to say Dabo?
Anyway,
the
first two commandments that we all heard directly, did that have to be relearned from Moshe?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And now the Mumutzayim are everywhere. Wherever you
That's
turn,
what he's saying. That's what he's saying. And without Moshe, you know, straight in a Maimer, Simon.
Moshe wouldn't have it.
There's a Maimer from the Rebbe that says that Tlas Kshorim Skashroim Dobedo. And notes Tchilosim Besef. There's three knots. Yisrael, Arayis, Kuchabrichu.
It's all from here, by the way.
Wait. No, wait. This I think from the Rebbe. I don't know. Yisrael, Arayis, Kuchabrichu. I'm sorry, Kuchabrichu, Arayis, and Yisrael. But then it's not Tchilosim Besef. From the end is connected to the beginning. And we spoke about this. So the end, Yisrael is still reconnected to Kuchabrichu. Now, that's why you need three knots. Otherwise, you need two knots, not three. To connect three things. Huh?
Links.
3 links, whatever. In order to connect 3 things, you need 2 links. Why do you say classic shor in 3 links? Because the end is reconnected to the first, and it's a circle, exactly. It's not a line, it's a circle. So the Rebbe says, what is that third knot that is Mekasher, Yisrael, and Kuchabrichu? It's Moshe. It says it. Moshe is the one. So the Rebbe says, in order to connect two things, you have to be higher than both things. So that means... I'm just telling you the words.
What are we going to do with that?
Wait. No, now you understand. With this, you understand a little bit. This explains it a little bit. Because it says in the Maimer that who's that Kesher? Moshe. Moshe is higher than Israel, and the Rebbe says, and the Rebbe Kav Yochel higher than Kuchabrichu. But now you understand what I mean.
Right.
Because, like you're saying, without Moshe, the Rebbe would have done it, would have been missing something.
Right.
The Rebbe would have done it himself, would have been missing something. Because he has Moshe there, it happens.
It's the highest level of
As ich denke da.
It's the highest level of art.
I was a man of Russia. I remember hearing it.
Okay.
Early memes.
So let's continue. The pasuk Daber al Bnei Yisrael. So Daber Hashem al Moshe.
Al Mosai.
Al Mosai.
Ending the month. What's going on? Quick.
Abi Kravis, the sound went dead. What time did he send it?
Oh,
great.
Let's see if it's the same one. I wasn't looking.
Now or
9:21. Okay.
No, it's been on before. Don't worry. Good.
I think I'll read quickly to the end of the Perek. Why not?
Okay, whatever you have time. I don't
So
care.
V'daber Hashem al
I'm
Moshe.
sorry, I take that back.
V'daber Hashem al Moshe. So we have like this. V'daber is the hashpah, hamshochen, anoge. V'daber Hashem has avaya is chochmeh ratzilis. El Moshe is Yisei Daber is the hashpah that goes even deeper into primis hakeser. Okay. Daber el Bnei Yisrael in bechinas netzach v'hei datzilis because they're the makablim. Remember we talked about Nehi in a moment before.
It's before you say.
Huh?
It's before you say.
Yeah.
Moshe is the Yisei the Chachma.
What's he's going to say? He's going to say Daber el Bnei Yisrael in bechinas netzach v'hei datzilis.
Yisei-
Yisrael hu zah datzilis. Bnei Yisrael hei netzach v'hei. So Yisrael is zah, and the children of Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael is netzach v'hei.